because the charity is the donor advised fund and they are getting all the funds, but that doesn't mean it all has to pay out to other 501c3s right away. All right, everybody, thank you again for being here. Welcome back. I have news stories.
All right.
Okay, so why do I do what I do? I'm not going to tell you the story about my grandmother and getting into the estate planning part, but I've also done an awful lot of work over the years with various nonprofit groups and charities, and I just feel that it's an important thing to be able to give back. Now, here's where it intersects with what I do with estate planning and what we would also be doing with financial and tax planning. It's how can we leverage charities to help our clients? Because I don't know about you, but I want more money to go to my clients, more money to go to their families, more business and money to come to me, and I am perfectly fine with Uncle Sam getting less. So yeah, I've been doing estate planning for a long time. I'm a certified Medicaid planner, but one of the things that I don't often put out there, I am a recipient of the President's Call to Service Award. Do you remember that Points of Light Foundation? I always carry this around. 4,000 hours of service over a lifetime. And so both me and Kathy, my wife, have that award. And I also had a certificate degree in nonprofit management from Duke University. Sounds very, very prestigious. Oh, you went to Duke for 4 years? No, but it was a good course of study, and I learned an awful lot about the organizations I was trying to help and work in. And so my goal is to examine the basic tax concepts on inherited income taxes. For a lot more of my clients, it's not about the estate tax anymore. Back when it was 1 million an individual or less, it's now about, wait, we've got these huge retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, and it's going down to the next generation. How are we going to handle those potential taxes, especially with changes in the Secure Act? Discuss some of the different planned giving options that I've seen over the years, talk about how some charities are looking at these and others are not yet looking at these. This could actually present some opportunities for any of the charities and nonprofits that you work with to bring some of these ideas to them. Review the concepts around the standard charitable remainder trust. That's going to set us up for the big one. The testamentary charitable remainder trust. So the big thing with the Secure Act, unless it's a spouse or one of these other exempt categories, you have to take that money out over 10 years. With this, you don't have to. It can go much longer.
If you think it's important for educational videos like this to get out there, then please help us out by subscribing to the channel.
All right, so inherited income taxes. Previously, it was spread out an average of 26.5 years. So you could have the income coming out at lower levels each year as opposed to now. It's 10 years, it's compacted. Just imagine $1 million going to one beneficiary and they have to pull that money out of an inherited IRA at about $100,000 per year. And that's just getting piled right on top of their income for their 1040. That's a huge amount of tax that they're going to have to pay because they're rocketing up into the higher tax brackets. If that's just going to stay that way, okay, but if we can spread it out, so now maybe it's more like $25,000 to $30,000 a year, and extend it out over many, many more years and actually get more money to the beneficiaries, why wouldn't we do that? At least bring that option to our clients. So some of the planned giving programs that I've seen, when we're talking about charities and nonprofits and setting things up, just like a direct bequest from a will or a trust seems to be the standard thing. Yes, I want to leave $10,000 to this charity, I want $5,000 to go to this charity, and I want $20,000 to go to this charity, and that comes off the top, and then we talk about the other beneficiaries. Or it can simply be, yeah, I want 10% going to the charities on Schedule B, and then the kids can divide the rest. Well, okay, we're getting these percentages and bequests out of the will or trust. That's just giving you some deductions really from potential estate taxes. You talk with the accountants, and I'm going to actually take this opportunity to put out there that I apologize in advance. If you've got a lot of tax questions, I'm going to say that's a great question for a tax professional, and I'll explain up front, hey, there really was a reason I switched from accounting to marketing as an undergrad once I realized I was going to law school. The numbers are not what I live in and the tax professionals do. So I might just be throwing questions back to Jerry, or for the Legacy Tree, for our sponsors over there. They do a lot of this type of planning around tax deferred accounts and the inheritance end of things. So I may be pushing some questions back there. I've also had some really good and interesting bequests come from some of my clients. I have a client in the Asheville area. Her primary, like a lot of my clients, her primary assets that were going to be passed along by estate. She had an IRA. She doesn't have kids. She had nieces and nephews. Yeah, they're getting the IRA. Her house is going to a cat shelter. But part of the agreement with the shelter is any cats that are alive when she passes on, they get to live in the house, and the cat shelter will have people come over twice a day, take care of all the food and water and the litter boxes, play with them a couple hours a day, and when the cats are gone, then they can get the house. They can sell it, turn it into like an ancillary shelter or whatever. This is her passion for charity. It's cats. All right, we have the house there for the benefit of the cats, lifetime rights, and then over to the charity. There's some really interesting things that can be done around life insurance, and I think a lot of charities are just starting to get into this, where you can donate your insurance policy to them. Or the easier thing is, hey, just name us as the beneficiary on the life insurance policy. All right, you pass on the life insurance is in effect, money goes to the charity. But if you're going to transfer ownership of the policy over to the charity, or, hey, this is something specific I'm going to do, I'm actually going to take out a policy and then a year or two, I'll transfer it in, you can continue to now make payments on the life insurance, but the money's going to the charity. So that's just a tax-deductible donation that you're making to the charity. You've just kind of arranged with them, yeah, this is what's going to help fund the life insurance. And if you ever stop donating, well, okay, now it's up to the charity, but they can keep that life insurance policy going, so when you do pass on, they get the life insurance out of that. All right, so naming charities as a beneficiary on a retirement account. How many people have seen this or had clients that want to do that? They want to have a charity listed as a beneficiary on their retirement account. Now, what kind of problems do we have with that, though? Because you can get the 10-year stretch as long as it's going to a person. Charities are not people. So that can flummox the whole thing for everyone. Now again, unless I have an accountant or tax professional tell me differently, and Jerry apparently is going to tell me differently.
I think if you paid out, if you paid the charity out, that will solve the problem.
What do you mean?
You got to identify the beneficiary by September 30th, the year after death.
Okay.
So if they're paid out, they're good. I think if you pay out the charity in full, they're no longer have an interest in
Okay.
And the other thing, if the account's divided into thirds, each one gets to take their portion, so they should be able to stretch it to their own inherited IRA accounts.
Okay. Right, see, that's a change from what I understood, because I didn't talk to Jerry until now.
Right, I'm gonna put a disclaimer. But
Okay.
that's my understanding.
Okay.
I'll leave it to Patty and Nora.
Yeah, because Patty's studying for her CPA at the moment, so.
You can separate those IRAs out. Go ahead and split up your IRA. Move it to another institution or have your advisor say, I want to split this portion of my IRA, get a different account number, and that portion is going to the charity.
Yeah, that's what I've been typically recommending, because it's 10% to the charity, and then I've got my 3 kids, they're each gonna get 30%. Well, no, let's section off 10%, put it into another account, just like you said. That goes to the charity, and now the 3 kids split that other account equally, and we don't have to worry about any other potential items with, wait a minute, this stretch may not be allowed for the kids.
Right.
All right. Testamentary Charitable Gift Annuity. So this is arranging ahead of time to do a charitable gift annuity, where it's going to have your retirement account list that charity as the beneficiary, but now the kids can get a stream of income. So this is something that I've talked about a couple of times with Taylor, looking at the numbers. And look, it's an option when you have clients that have a large retirement account and they want it to get to their kids in the most tax efficient manner possible. All right, it's gonna go and it's gonna spread it out over time. The thing that I like is I always like to close up potential loopholes. And I've just been doing this long enough that I've seen beneficiaries get in positions where they become disabled. And my clients are scrambling, wait a minute, we have to update something. Or maybe there's some kind of age limits and other things that we want to put in place. So we're gonna show an interesting way of handling this with the Charitable Remainder Trust as the recipient, the Testamentary Charitable Remainder Trust. But a charitable gift annuity isn't a bad idea either to take a look at. It probably is a little simpler. It's done by contract, not trust, but the principles are generally the same. But then there's the Testamentary Charitable Remainder Trust. So you're naming the Charitable Remainder Trust as the beneficiary. It's going to receive the retirement accounts, and now, based on the terms of the trust, pay it out to the beneficiaries with the remainder interest going over to the charity. Any questions so far before I really get into that traditional charitable remainder trust and go over the concept? Okay, it's the morning of the last day. I've gotten my caffeine, I hope you have too. All right, so with the traditional charitable remainder trust, we're trying to wash away as much of the taxes as possible. It's not like, hey, I've got a checking account, I'm gonna throw it into a charitable remainder trust and have this stream of income. Well, okay, there's no kind of built-in or deferred taxes in that. Where I've seen and actually done a lot of these charitable remainder trusts, there are professionals, they owned their building where they did their practice. The one that immediately comes to mind is a dentist client of mine. He had depreciated the building where his dental practice was renting out of, and of course he owned the building, depreciated it down to 0, which is capital gains recapture unless I'm mistaken. That office condo, if it was simply sold, he'd have all of this income that he would have to take care of. Not just capital gains, but income, because he deducted it. He took it and depreciated it. Well, by taking that and moving it into the charitable remainder trust as a donation, well, he's getting a donation on the value of it, not what it was depreciated down to. So he's going to get some tax benefits over 5 years to reduce income taxes. And now the charity is actually selling the building. Now, of course, we had the buyer, and this was all kind of prearranged. It was all handled. But now the building got sold to the buyer, and my client received a stream of income. I think he did it over a 15-year period. All right, so what's the best time period? What's the best percentage? What's the best way to handle? Well, wait. All of that is dependent on the numbers. It's all about the numbers. If you say, well, I want 7% of the assets each year. Okay, if you take out 9%, that's going to be less for the charity. So your deduction's going to be less. What if it's, well, I'm going to get this payment over 15 years. Well, I'd prefer 20. Well, if you're going to keep the percentage the same and it's going to be 20 years, again, that's less going to the charity, the less the deductions. You can make the numbers work out to what you need it to, but that's the percentage and the number of years that you're receiving these payments is going to vary in proportion and in coordination with what the charity gets at the end. Now, you can probably take a lot of the guesswork out of what exactly your payment's going to be each year. You can take that money that you would be getting, put it into an immediate annuity, and now you know, okay, over the next 15 years, here's exactly what I'm going to get. And again, the tax professionals can calculate what that charitable interest is, and you can deduct the donation over that 5-year period. So here's another interesting thing. So you're establishing the percentage, number of years of payment, amount going to the charity, streams of payment. All right, so the charity gets everything at the end, but you've gotten rid of the asset. You've gotten this income, that's great. But what if you were looking at that as something where, all right, I wanted something to go to my kids. It was $1 million building. That's $1 million that's not going to my kids. Well, how about with that stream of income over the next 15 years, you're taking some of that portion out to go into a 15-year pay life insurance policy for $1 million. At the end of the 15 years, that's paid up, and you've got a life insurance policy that's going to pay out $1 million. You want it to be more than $1 million. Well, okay, the payments go up, but this is a technique that I've seen where these are done in conjunction. You've got the Charitable Remainder Trust to wash away the taxes for the sale, but at the same time, you're replacing it with life insurance to get money to the kids in the estate down the road. All right, any questions on that so far? Before I get into the area I hate the worst, the actual taxation part. So, this is based on my research, and please, Patty and Jerry, correct me if I'm off anywhere on this. So, these payments from the Charitable Remainder Trust, it takes on the same category of any gains or income from what you put into it. Now, if we have, it's all coming in, so I'm going to just use an IRA, that's the testamentary one, but if it's an IRA that's going in and it's $1 million, well, that's $1 million of ordinary income. But it's going to grow over the next 20 years. You set it for 20 years, it's going to grow. All right, so there's going to be some investments, capital gains, and whatnot that's in there. So it's, quote, 8-tier accounting. And of course, the way the government wants it to come out is worst out, first out. So whichever is the most burdensome of the taxes is what you're going to get coming out first. So what exactly are those 8 kind of tiers? Ordinary income, that's first. Dividends from stocks. Then it's short-term capital gains. The sale of collectibles. Have either of you worked with the sale of collectibles ever? I've never had clients have to deal with the tax on increases from sale of collectibles, but whatever. Income from the sale of real estate with capital gains recapture. Okay. Long-term capital gains, then any of the tax-free categories, and then finally last, your return of principal. So, there may be some or all of these in there that are going to be coming out in these streams of income. So what I end up telling a lot of my clients, if you're even thinking of doing a kind of charitable remainder trust, not only do you need the attorney to get the trust set up exactly the right way, you need your financial advisor to take a look at what it's going to be invested in while it's in there. And more important than me or the advisor is the accountant that's going to be able to project the taxes and stay on top of this as these payments are coming out. So you're making sure that you're paying the appropriate level of taxes based on this system. So, again, all the respect in the world for accountants, never want to be one myself. Any questions on that I can kick to Jerry and Patty? Okay. All right, so now we're coming to the Testamentary IRA Charitable Remainder Trust.
Hold on, one question. So some of those taxes are static, right? They're not growing, it just is from the original sale. So some of those will just, die off or just burn out, right? So
Right.
the tax burden is gonna get lesser and lesser and lesser as it goes into the future.
Yeah, I believe that is exactly it.
Because it's not like, what do they call that? Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's not like they're gonna spread it out like, okay, well,
Yeah,
we
like
made
an
some money
exclusion ratio,
here.
like a tax exclusion ratio.
Right. It's just, again, worst out, first out. All right, so the Testamentary IRA Charitable Remainder Trust, this really can be a game changer, and I hadn't heard of this until Bobby came to me with it, and Carl is instrumental in saying, we need to be doing this, and so, all right, this is now available through the estate planning source. We've got this trust done and developed. It is designed to be there, unfunded until death, but we set up the terms ahead of time. So, for a lot of my clients, I can see them wanting their kids to have payment over their lifetime, rather than just the 10 years if they're going to inherit it directly, or even if they're going to inherit it through an IRA trust. It's the movement into the inherited IRA that says, okay, it's going to come out over 10 years. Well, all right, this is going to open it up to be over potentially a lifetime. You can set a number of years, less than that, but it can go for a lifetime, and that's where I'm seeing more of my clients. So that retirement account lists the charitable remainder trust as the beneficiary. Same calculation of payment processes and taxes to the beneficiary as with the charitable remainder trust. It's just we're starting with 100% being ordinary income. And then over time, if it's invested and it's growing, then there might be some of these other taxes that trail out at the end. And then, so yeah, we still have to figure out what's the percentage or the dollar amount, the number of years, more than 10.
If you think it's important for educational videos like this to get out there, then please help us out by subscribing to the channel.
Or for life. Now, this is something, a combination that I'm looking at and I can see being extremely important and protective for my clients and their families. Instead of it paying to them directly, we can have it pay from the charitable remainder trust, the Testamentary Charitable Remainder Trust, into the inherited IRA in case there's a disability. In case, hey, it's a lifetime payment and they're gonna end up needing nursing home care and Medicaid. Okay, those payments are still gonna continue, but they're gonna continue to the IRA trust, not to the beneficiary directly. And then there's a trustee in place who can have the money either go directly out to them or some of it, or hey, we need some protection here. They're going through a divorce. We don't want this payment to actually go to them. We want it to be protected inside the IRA trust.
Jeff,
Yes?
could you also put it into a beneficiary trust if you're talking about protection?
Yeah, it could do that. But now I can see this other IRA trust end up being a beneficiary in the child's plan, because we can list the contingent beneficiaries as going out to the children. So it might be able to do some double duty there. Could it go to a beneficiary trust? Yeah.
But you don't like that idea?
I just think until it's a lot more well established and we have a lot more law saying, well, it doesn't matter, most professionals and the taxing authorities know that an IRA trust is treated as a person. So for now, that's kind of what I'm just looking at. It's the same as the beneficiary tax-wise receiving it, rather than it going to an irrevocable trust, except that it's, well, they're the beneficiary, it should be taxed on the way in. I'm just more comfortable with it.
Got it.
Now, and I'm more comfortable with it from a practical standpoint as opposed to legal or tax. In the same way, I'm more comfortable with, if we're going to do something to protect one child, you've got 3 kids, one of them's the one with the bad marriage, we need to make sure that they never get their money because they just get manipulated by that spouse. They'll be talked into leaving all of the money to the spouse instead of the grandkids. We need to protect that. I'm not going to just suggest setting up one asset management trust and one IRA trust for that one kid out of 3. I'm going to say, let's do all 3 kids get their asset management trust and their IRA trust, and we talk to them that, hey, this is generational protection planning. It's going to protect you from bankruptcy and lawsuits and divorce. Divorce. That's at the end of the explanation to the kids, but now it's a lot more likely to keep some family harmony. Does it make any real legal or tax difference? No, but I'm seeing it would be more accepted. All right. Yes.
Got a client that's spouse passed away, really younger guy under 60, got a child under age 18.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the qualified, he's got qualified money quite a bit, $1 million. Do you think a qualified IRA trust be better or this charitable trust? He has no spouse, only one daughter. She's under age 18.
Okay. How much money are we talking about?
About $450,000.
Okay, so that's roughly $45,000 each year for 10 years into an inherited IRA if it went to the daughter directly. How many 18-year-olds do you know can handle $450,000?
Well, she's a very smart girl. She'll be 18 next year.
Okay. She could be very smart, but most of my clients think that's probably too young anyway. All right, if you set it up for an IRA trust and you look, all right, here's what the potential tax is over that 10-year period. How about instead we talk with Legacy Tree and see what are those calculations if we can spread it out as a check that she's going to get every year over her lifetime, and what the tax levels would be. Now, if it was 4.5 million, I'm like, you should probably go back there right now and start the discussion. You can always see the recording of this later. 450,000, that's still a significant amount of money, but it's not a crushing tax thing at 45,000 a year. But it's enough that I'd say it's worth a conversation.